So, hey Sagittarius, my name is Chris, and this is your beautiful summer 2026 reading. So you can watch these readings for sun, moon, and rising signs. So they're not necessarily sign specific, but it's definitively time specific. Use your mind wisely, right? Meditate, breath work, that's what it is. Letting something sink in, process something. Let's take the Queen of Cups as a couple. You know exactly how you feel. You know what is important for you. That's inner peace, that's for sure. And should know, by the way, how to cultivate that inner peace. True breath work, 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out. I say this again and again. And meditation. Combine these two and you're there. You're the Queen of Cups, and what you're doing is the Four of Swords. Meditation, working with your consciousness, working with your thinking mind, working with your intuition, bringing them both together. Queen of Cups, Four of Swords energy, waking up to something, and there's the Hermit, your inner light. If you cultivate inner peace, my friend, and that's the Sagittarius reading, so you're kind of a little on the fiery, adventurous side, right? So inner peace might be a challenge for you. Sitting there, shutting the F up, right? For half an hour, can you do that? Can you meditate? Can you sit with your monkey, Sagittarius mind, fiery energy, right? And just cultivate inner peace. That's very, very strong, very, very powerful. If you get too much energy, breath work, 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out. Something to that extent. You can do a little less. If you can do more, by all means, do that. Don't get dizzy. It should be doable, halfway comfortable. Not halfway comfortable. Should be a challenge. Okay, I'm talking too much. That's what the cards say. 10 of Wands and the Two of Pentacles. You're restoring balance. How? I just told you. That's true for every sign all the freaking time, right? But especially here, explore your inner light. Come to a place or frequency or state of consciousness where you establish a connection to your inner light. That is what is guiding you, right? The Hermit is following that inner light. And if you stabilized your inner peace, if you did all that, right, breathwork and meditation, you're eventually stabilizing that inner light, making a connection to that. And this is, in a way, there's this wonderful quote, if you look outside, you're dreaming. If you look inside, you're awakening. Judgment card, right? To your inner light. And that is what you're going to achieve in this summer. Finally, maybe you have been trying to do that. Maybe you're starting at the beginning. If you've never done it, right, 5 minutes, breathwork, meditation, just 5 minutes. You can do 5 minutes on social media easily, right? No problem there. But if you can do that, you can sit there for 5 minutes and breathe or just meditate. Do that every day. It's going to change your life. Restoring balance in troubled times. The Two of Pentacles, if you look at the background here, this is not a shallow sea. I think that's how it's called. The sea here is there are high waves, right? Up and down, and it's very turbulent, right? And to keep your balance in that turbulent time, super important. Makes all the difference, especially for fire signs. Fire sign as active and adventurous as Sagittarius, that's for sure. And she comes along all the freaking time. I'm happy she's here. I'm super happy she's here. Combine that with the Justice card. You got Judgment, waking up to something, waking up to your inner light. And then radiating, creating, alchemizing from that inner light, from that inner stability, even in troubled times, right? Even in all that madness and turmoil and lies and deceit. Clarity of mind, in this case, clarity of your emotional body, of your feelings. There's your waking consciousness, your intellect, kind of marrying, befriending your subconsciousness, true kind of meeting in your heart space. That's the inner light, right? And from that frequency, you creating just beautiful stuff, right? And it seems like 2026 summer, it's going to happen, right? For finally, I've been talking about this so long. I've been talking about it through 2025 when we were all, I mean, this is an empath channel, right? So if you're an empathic being, you're resonating with this channel. If you're not, you might think, what the F is he talking about? But this is not a narcissistic channel. This is not an super, you don't need to be a narcissist to be more on the expressive side, shall we say, right? So, but this is definitely a more empathic channel and somebody who might be on the journey to, you know, being too empathic is also very destructive. So keeping that in a balance, right? Keeping that in a healthy balance, not negating it and jumping to the extreme opposite. That is the first step, but bringing it in a balance. And from that balance, right, the healed empaths, the fully integrated empaths, you can love yourself first and still not be completely narcissistic or egoistic, but you can still be kind of altruistic. You're just radiating good frequencies, and that is often more helpful than anything else because you're contributing by letting your inner light shine. You are, you know, on the same frequency, creating a field with others. That is where magic is happening, right? Or the alchemy, I should say, because you're manifesting from your inner frequency, not from outer force or willpower, as much as you just tune your inner light and create beautiful stuff. The Empress, all four queens rolled into one. You got the Queen of Cups here, so an emphasis on your emotions. And how many do we got? 2 more, and then we're done. Let's just see. Okay, so you're coming from, and this is the fear card. This is definitely the fear card. So what do we got? The Chariot and the 10 of Cups. So there's your hopes and your fears. So your fear is scarcity. Your fear is not having enough. Your fear is maybe losing your job, being in trouble, I don't know, not finding a better job, or how to pay your bills, how to pay your rent. This is pretty much, or it could also be being an outcast, right? Not belonging, by speaking your mind, by letting your light shine, by not participating in the BS of, I don't know, whoever is in your group, and you know, there's a group dynamic and you have to kind of fit in and do as the others do. And you know, and if the others kind of sell their soul to the D, then by all known, don't do that, right? So you might be afraid to stand alone. You might be afraid to be an outcast. You might be afraid of poverty. You might be afraid of, you know, all that jazz, right? All that jazz. And that is something that you're afraid of. But concentrate not on your fears, but concentrate on what you want to create. You have to deal with stuff on a day-to-day basis, even if it looks grim. And I know how it looks grim. When it looks grim, I've been there, I've done it, right? It's not like my life was sunshine, lollipop all the freaking time. And to tell you, there are problems in every life, right? There's the Sun card at the bottom of the deck. Beautiful card. So there's just your fear here. And then there's also the Chariot and the 10 of Cups. And there's also the Empress and the Justice card. So you deserve abundance. You deserve, you know, it's not like you have to sell your soul for 40 hours a week and then on the weekend you get, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours for yourself. No, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be yourself. You deserve to be able to take care of yourself. You deserve to just sit there in a chair and look outside the window or something like that, or drink a cup of tea or a pot of tea, right? That you deserve. That's your God-given right. You don't need to justify yourself for that. And we are kind of programmed to do that, to justify ourselves for that, for just being, right? And when you think about basically how we developed, right? Whether we lived in caves, or whether we were roaming around and collecting stuff and hunting and gathering and things like that. But nobody justified themselves, right? There was no central authority to which we had to, justify our existence or anything. But we're kind of so indoctrinated that little authority is kind of planted in our heads, in our thinking consciousness, And whenever you just relax, whenever you take a step back, whenever you, don't run or strive or struggle for anything, and just sit there and relax and enjoy the moment for once, there's a little nagging voice in your head telling you, oh, who do you think you are? Shouldn't you be working? Shouldn't you be productive? Shouldn't you, And to say no to that and to remind yourself, I have a divine right to be, Being is enough. You don't need to do something. We're not human doings, we're human beings. And that is a learning process. And to demand that for yourself, and maybe taking a step back, right? Maybe not going for the best paying job, but taking a step back if you can. Not everybody can do that, obviously. But if you can take a step back and come back to yourself, make that a priority in your life. I said it again. I said it before. Like if you have 20 minutes or half an hour for social media, then you have 20 minutes or half an hour for meditation and breath work. Cut the crap, because social media is just telling you that story. Social media is telling you, oh, compare yourself to that supermodel or that movie star, whatever. And guess what? You're not the same, right? You're insignificant. You don't matter. You're not good enough, right? That's the constant message. If you're on Instagram, oh, I'm not on that super holiday. I haven't been to that place. I'm not looking like that, right? And then you go to politics and it's even worse, right? Complete insanity. And if you constantly circle around these images and these beliefs, these messages, right? That you're helpless, that you can't do something, that the world is happening and you just, you're out of power, you're disempowered, you can't do something, and you should be afraid of this and that, and there's another virus, and there's another war, and there's another enemy, and have you worried about this and that, This is this 5 of Swords energy, and that's the fear aspect here. But what are you paying attention to? Wherever your energy flows, this is what you give energy. This is what you multiply within your mind. Just by sheer, that's just, it's not even, don't call it, we don't need to call it manifestation or something, right? But this is just how the universe works. If you focus on something, you give it energy just by your sheer thinking and emotional power, by your focus of your consciousness. This is where your energy flows. And if you compare yourself to Instagram models, and if you argue in the comments of some social media stuff or the news or whatever, this is where your energy goes. You don't want it there. And going away from that BS, right? Which is a form of mind control. Negativity is a form of mind control. So you're coming back to yourself, establishing that connection, meditation, breathwork instead of social media. Right? That's what she does. That's the Queen of Cups, the queen of the inner emotional landscape. Inner stuff, right? Since it's the queen, not the king. If the king would go outwards and communicate what he feels, but she is much more concerned about the question, what am I feeling? How am I right now? And to make that connection, that's her practice, meditation, breathwork, and establishing that inner light and letting it shine. And then you don't need to worry about all that, right? There are things that you can change and there are things that you can't change. And what I'm promoting here is that you basically do what you can with what you've got where you are. And then you're manifesting that, and you deserve this. It is your, mine, our God-given divine right to live in peace and prosperity and happiness. Happiness is a divine God-given right. It's not something you get with your golden watch after 40 years of service or whatever. That's a very disempowering, toxic narrative. Don't buy into that shit. Queen of Cups, again, clarifying kind of the Five of Pentacles. But you got this. You understand that, and you're finally taking action. Not fighting the lion, not fighting windmills, not trying to agonize about stuff that you cannot change, but focus your energy on what you can change. And it starts with realizing, what do I actually want, right? What do I actually want? Is inner peace, is a peaceful life, not, a peaceful life, a successful life is not necessarily, I would not say it's the life that brings you to the biggest car or the biggest house, but what kind of lifestyle would allow it for you to just sit there for an hour with, I don't know, a pot of tea or something, and just stare out of the window and do nothing? Isn't that a successful life too? Maybe even more so. Ace of Swords, Wheel of Fortune, Tree of Cups, you got many supports. You're waking up to this, right? A lot of people are waking up to this. We got the Justice and the Judgment card, and this Hanged Man, that is kind of clarifying the bottom of the deck. That's the big bottom of the deck, so to speak. You're finally getting it, right? Just stop entertaining disempowering bullshit. There's this wonderful quote, I have it in my posts. When you check the YouTube page, there's their posts as well. Don't be mad at the clowns, right? Do not be mad at the clowns. Ask yourself why you keep going to the circus. Think about that. And if everything around you seems dark, look again, you might be the light. Rumi, you might be the light. And establishing that light and being one of these warriors of the light, that is what we're doing here. And how do you deal with toxic people? How do you deal with narcissistic people? First of all, you just don't engage with them, don't defend, don't explain, don't personalize, very, very important. And observe what you dislike in others, seek those traits within yourself, unlearn them, and this is how you nurture self-love. So if someone mistreats you, then, there is an angry little child within each of us who wants to act like an angry little toddler, right? And just, revenge. And if you did that to me, I'm doing this to you. But this is the childish, impulsive reaction. We all got that impulse within ourselves. But at the end of the day, if we behave like the narcissist, if we behave like the toxic person, if we cheat the cheater, so to speak, we become that. So that is never a good idea. So uphold your inner light And just don't jump down into the mud with the pigs. Forget labels. Just be yourself, you beautiful freak. Yay. It's a special reading, right? I mean, it's the summer 2026 reading, and we have some interesting, wonderful little community here. We just reached 200, right? I'm very happy, and we're becoming a wonderful little community here. Yay. Protection beyond the storm. Storms will come and go. Every dark cloud will clear. Beyond every storm, there's a clear sky. The sun will shine once more. Bottom of the deck. Once more. So look beyond the current situation. There's nothing to fear, for I, Archangel Michael, will protect you and keep you from harm. You cannot avoid the current situation. Whatever it is for you, whether it's in your family, whether you are worried about politics or your job or your situation or whatever, that too shall pass, right? I will protect you and keep you from harm. You cannot avoid the current situation, so let it come and go. There's nothing you have done to create it. Very important. If you're just a decent human being, it's not your fault that you're struggling, because the system is kind of designed for decent human beings to struggle. It's not like you can work harder or you should work harder. That's not working anymore. And it's not your fault. It's just by design. This system is serving the most greedy and irresponsible people. And it's just not fair. It has nothing to do with you. There's nothing you have done to create this. Sometimes storms just appear. They are part of nature, of human nature also. There's a light within darkness. Look beyond the storm. There's already a clear blue sky. In the distance, the sun shines, even if we cannot see it. Beyond the storm, and there's protection. And you have to protect yourself as well. You have to take responsibility. Do something to work with your consciousness, because we're bombarded with mindfuck energy, which is kind of cognitive warfare at this time, where it's constant negativity, and negativity is mind control. So you have to, and I'm not preaching toxic positivity or anything. If you feel down, if you feel like crying, if you feel like screaming, if you feel like throwing a plate against the wall, by all means do that. But this is just a temporary release, of anger or frustration. But work with your consciousness. Take charge. Do not allow other people to influence and lower your frequency of your consciousness, but actively work with your own consciousness. Meditation, breath work. That's how you do it. And then if a lot of people are doing that, they have no chance, right? Be at home. Be at home within yourself, whatever your circumstances, and carve out space. Really look at it. The time that you use during the day to worry about things that you can't change, or bitch about things that you can't change, or, that's so awful and that's so awful. Breathe it out, just sit. And if you just sit there and stare out of the window, that's a better use of your time than commenting on some social media stuff. Most of the comments are some bots anyway, right? So you're kind of communicating with AI or some bot or machine or whatever anyway. And they are programmed to engage you in drama, to lower your frequency, to communicate more anger and hatred and deceit and diversion. And, that's not serving you. Happiness is here. The universe is on your side. You're manifesting great abundance. Just take care of your inner light and let it shine. And that's all I got. And I hope it resonates with you. Share, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about it. There's even a yearly reading. And if you want the full picture, I say this again, check out your sun, moon, and rising sign. And now I'm shutting up. That's all I got. Now, see you soon. Ciao.